Alright, y'all. I was hoping to have this up yesterday, but I was a little exhausted when I got home from the con and everything. But this is going to be my recap or overview of 2017 GrandCon in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Had an amazing time. Really can't complain about much. The open gaming tables were extremely packed. I guess the only thing that I could say was maybe add another row of tables down the center of the little walkway that they had. But outside of that, I mean, this con was amazing. There was a ton of great guests there. They had some really good events running. They had a lot of good like play-to-wins, you know, some cool panels and stuff. And it was really nice being able to meet these people that are, you know, deep in the industry who I've talked to on social media and such, but I haven't met in person. So that was really cool for me to do. So I guess for this, I'm just gonna, I'm just gonna run through the games that I played and let you guys know what I thought about them. So to start off, I played The Downfall of Pompeii. Had never heard about this game before, literally didn't know anything about it. I saw it on the schedule. I had an opening in the morning. I was wanting to get something in quick before, you know, things started to ramp up. So I sat down and played this. I was the only one that signed up for it, but even in a one-on-one game, this was so much fun. I was thinking this was going to be just some light filler, whatever type of game that, you know, I didn't enjoy a ton, but it passed the time and it was cool. No, this game was so awesome. So it's split up into a couple different parts. The first half of the game, you're basically taking and putting your, not workers, but you're putting your players or your little pawns or characters out on the board into certain spots, depending on which cards you have in your hand. Then the second half of the game is trying to get all those characters, players, pawns, whatever, out of the board. And you score points based on how many guys you get outside of the board. You also, so the second half of the game, you'll be drawing tiles from a bag or whatever, where you place them on certain spots depending on which tile on the board, and that acts as the lava from the volcano. And you can trap guys in. There's plenty of spots to get out on the board, but you can trap guys and make them die. It was really fun. It was really cool. It added a whole lot of suspense to the end of the game when you didn't know which, you know, tile was going to be drawn, and you had to sort of balance like, well, this guy's really close, but he could get hit, so I need to get him out now. But then when you do that, you trap 3 or 4 guys in the center because they're inside of lava and there's no path for them to take to get to the outside of the board. I thought that was really neat. I wish that those sort of things were done more often in games where, and maybe they are and I just don't know about them. Feel free to tell me about them. But where one half of the game is sort of one mechanic and the other half of the game is another. I thought that was really interesting. I thought that was really neat. So it was a quick play. We got done and I mean, I was taught and learned this game in under an hour. It was only 2-player, but yeah, I mean, if I knew how to play, it would have went a lot quicker too. So, you know, it's a really fun game. I highly recommend it. It was really cool actually how they have a they have a 3D-ish volcano that when you destroy another one of your opponent's pawns or workers, you actually drop them inside of the volcano, and I thought that was a really cute touch. So it gives the game some table presence and, you know, adds to it a bit. So that was really neat. So I went from there and I played Wasteland Express delivery service. Now, I've had this game for couple weeks now, and I was waiting to play it at GrandCon because I was able to play it with Jonathan Gilmore, one of the designers. This was a super fun game. I know a lot of people kind of had some minor quibbles and complaints about it. A lot of people just don't really seem to like pick up and deliver games. A lot of people thought that this was going to be a, you know, Mad Max Wasteland game where it was just a ton of combat and, you know, that's not what it is. That's not what this game is. This game is Wasteland Express delivery service. So I think if people sort of check their expectations or have realistic expectations going into this, they're going to love it. I was thrilled with this game. It was really cool how you had to sort of balance which actions you were going to take to be able to take actions the next time. You can only move 3 spaces, but if you only move, you can then gain momentum in your movement and move up to 4 or 5 spaces on the subsequent turns. I thought that was really neat, just how all the actions went on your player board. The art is just out of this world. You guys have probably seen a ton from this game already, so I won't go deeper, but this was super fun. I highly recommend it. If you don't like pick up and deliver games, this probably isn't going to be for you, but I would still recommend you play it. The gameplay is that fun. The art is that good. Try it. Maybe don't buy it if you don't like pick up and deliver, but certainly try it. Everybody else, if you like pick up and deliver, buy this game. Buy this game. So I played Star Wars Rebellion. This was really fun. I had played it, kind of played it 2-player before. I've, went through some of the rules and played partial games, but I never really knew if I was doing everything correctly, and we never really fully played a game. This was a 4-player game I played, which I didn't really like. I didn't like not being able to fully control my side. Now, I know that there's the air and the ground and all the combat is done differently. It's done separately, I should say. But I still would have liked to have been able to strategize a little bit more. Now, outside of that minor complaint, the game was great. The game was epic. This was the most epic game I've ever played. It was really cool, that little cat and mouse trying to find where the rebel base was, and they move the rebel base once you find it, so you gotta go search again. And this was great. This was super fun, super thematic. If you like Star Wars, this is Star Wars in a box. Everybody says it, it's the truth. I'm not sure what the expansion is gonna do. We didn't play with the expansion, but even without the expansion, if you're playing a 4-player game, it's gonna be fun. If you're playing a 2-player game, this is probably gonna be one of your favorite games you've ever played. No joke. So, I also played Mansions of Madness, the 2nd edition. Now, like Star Wars Rebellion, I had played this before, but I had played solo. And I had just sort of, gone through the motions, and I never finished a scenario. It just didn't feel like the game was for me. But I don't know if it was the setting that I was in, being at a convention, or if it was just the people that I was playing with, or the fact that I was playing with people in general. But this game was amazing. It was the most thematic game I've ever played. Fantasy Flight's just killing it with these best ofs, huh? But just, rolling to see, what's going to happen with the monster that crashes through the mirror and is slashing you up. It was great. There was so much hooting and hollering. There was so much, exacerbations. It was just so fun. There was so much of it. Honestly, I wish we would have played a second scenario right then, and we finished at 10:30 or something like that at night. But yeah, it was super fun. I really enjoyed playing it. All the people I played with were awesome. It was a really good time, really good time. So probably my highlight of the weekend was playing Fate of the Elder Gods. Now, I got to play this game with a couple of the designers, Richard and Chris. Now, I played 2 separate sessions, so I played them, 1-on-1. But I just can't get enough of this game. I'm taking it to my game night tomorrow night. I want to play it right now instead of recording this video. I love this game. It's so cool being able to play as the Elder Gods and trying to destroy things, trying to, screw the investigators or stay away from the investigators. You're these cultists. It's just fun. It's a different twist. You're playing the bad guy, right? So that was really cool. It was neat trying to figure out which areas you could go to depending on the spell cards. And that was really neat too, how the spell cards also double as your movement cards as well. So You know, it was really neat. I really love the game. I can't think about any complaints of this game. I'm a little upset because I got so deep into this game, I got so enthused in this game that I didn't even take any pictures of it. And it was my favorite game of the weekend. And I played twice. That's how great this game is, all right? So absolutely check this game out. I have the game. I have the Beast from Beyond expansion. I've heard that expansion will add the different monsters that you could add to the board instead of just the one, so you can sort of, you know, do different things, and it just adds a lot of chaos to the game. So I'm super excited to try that out, but I haven't fully delved into it or anything like that. But, you know, definitely check out the base game, definitely play it. This is one of my favorite games I've played. So I played Endeavor, the second edition. This is done by Grand Gamers Guild, I believe. It's going to be kickstarted at the top of the year. This is a redo, or, you know, whatever, of a game that came out several years ago. I knew nothing of the game. I had no prior experience, but this game was really fun. There was so many moving parts. I mean, during the explanation, it was a little overwhelming, and I sort of tend to think that I can pick things up rather quickly. Now, it took me a few rounds to sort of get into the groove and figure out where, like, you know, what my strategy was going to be. But with all the moving parts, it was tough. I did pretty terribly in the game. Shout out to all the opponents that I had. But, you know, I think that playing a second time, where I knew how all these moving parts like interconnected and everything and how they meshed better, then I would do a little better in the game. But I guess so would my opponents, because none of them had played the game either, obviously. So there's going to be a couple changes to the game from when we played it, because obviously it's a, you know, working copy, and they're going to be kickstarting at the top of next year. So, but I'm sure that the game is only going to improve from what it was. The art is awesome. You know, it's very simple yet elegant. I really liked that. It wasn't over the top. There wasn't any of that. But this game was super fun. I highly recommend everybody check out the Kickstarter next year. So I played End of the Trail from Elf Creek Games, I believe it is. Now, this is a simple little poker game, but you're also trying to, it's not area control, but you're trying to somewhat control different tiles on the board, which are going to give you points at the end of the game, or at the end of the round. But you also have to use those cards to form a poker hand. So it's another game with these double use cards, and your poker hand is going to give you points at the end of the game. I wasn't over the top with this game. I wasn't, you know, in love with it, but it was fun. If you like poker, you're probably going to like this game. You know, it was cool trying to decide, like, do I want to build a great poker hand but leave myself kind of scattered on the board, or do I want, or on the tiles, or do I want to forget about the poker hand and lose it and do most of my board tile playing and make that my prominence in my strategy. I think maybe the poker hand doesn't matter as much. Maybe that was just because I only had one playthrough. But I think that if you're controlling the board and if you're doing well on the board, you're probably in a much, much better position than if you're playing well in the poker hand, because you only score once for the poker hand. You're going to be scoring several times for the workers and the tiles that you play or you get out on the board. So, you know, I'm not sure how much is going to change. They're going to be kickstarting this game. I think October 3rd is when the Kickstarter comes out. So I'll definitely be following it. I'll definitely be checking it out. But yeah, I suggest all you guys go check out Elf Creek Games and End of the Trail and see if this is something for you. I played Stonebound Saga. I think that was Sky Kingdom Games. It's a card strategy game, but you're forming a crew or a clan of battlers or warriors or wizards, what have you, and you are starting on either two opponents or four opponents, whatever, are starting on either side of the board, and their teams are trying to move on the board in strategic ways to fight the other team. There's so much to this game. It's amazing how tight the game is when there's so many different strategies and so many different abilities. I can't even believe it, to be honest with you. It took me quite a long time to pick up on this game. It was at the end of the day when I played, so I don't know if I was just super fatigued or what, but it took me a long time to get going with this game, and I got destroyed, but it was super fun. It was really cool trying to figure out, do I want to, attack with my spiritual guy or my physical guy? Maybe your physical guy needs to be the one attacking, but he can't because his movement and range is so low that he's not able to get to his opponents. Whereas the other player that you're controlling might be closer, but they're not as good at attacking your opponent's types of characters. I think a lot goes into this game with pre-game, when you're maybe not drafting, but when you're selecting your characters, when you're selecting your players, because there's, each character will have offensive abilities and defensive abilities, and there's several for each character. So if one player is controlling 3 different characters with, 8 or so different abilities each, it's sort of a lot to keep track of. But you play this game a couple times and you start to get the hang of what kinds of abilities they're going to be and what different things that they could possibly do. And I think it's going to be a lot smoother, at least for me. I know my opponent loved it. He was thrilled with it the first time that he played, but he sort of got to pick it up a little bit quicker. I also missed the first 5-10 minutes of explanation because I wasn't running a little bit late. I think that the table was just not at the correct table that they had listed on my schedule. So I was trying to scramble, but super fun game. Late pledges are still open for this game. I highly recommend you go get it. It's only like $40, I want to say, plus shipping. But you could also get the deluxe version and get the playmat, the deck holders, the extra dice. That's probably the way to go. But either way, this game is super fun, super deep, super strategic. I highly recommend it. I played Mistborn, House War, and I knew nothing about this game, but I saw that it was designed by Kevin Wilson and that he was running the event, and I just had to be there. I had to play it. So I signed up for that one, and Kevin is a great dude. Along with everybody I met, John Gilmore, Mark Spector, these guys are awesome people. But Kevin was hilarious. I had a really great time playing with him. But Mistborn, I had no prior knowledge of any sort of story or anything involved, but it was great. There was so much wheeling and dealing and negotiation. It was really fun. It was really cool because you could play off of the people that you're playing with. And, I had a really great group of guys that I was playing with. So what happens is you're trying to, each player controls a house, and you're trying to solve the problems of this city. And when the problems are not solved and they're pushed off the board, I think it's something erupts, the problems erupt, and it has a negative effect. Now, this could be bad for every player. This could be bad for a player of the active player's choosing. There's just a lot to that. But the really great thing about this game is that all the cards that are played, not just the problem cards, but all the other cards that are played, there's negative effects for everything. You might do something, but guess what? There's going to be a card that disallows you to do that. So there's a lot of checks and balances that you have to play, and you have to maybe throw out a small card in one turn to where your opponents might play that negate on it, to where the next turn you'll be free to play your bigger card. So there's a lot of give and take. There's a lot of push and pull with the game. I guess the only thing that might have been a little weird, and maybe it's just because I was the player that it happened to, but if you jump out to a quick lead in the game, you're probably not going to win. You're going to have to fight for your life to win if you jump out to a quick lead. Because I jumped out to a quick lead and I was screwing everybody over. This is a semi-cooperative game because you need to work together to manage your resources to solve these problems. You're not always going to be able to solve the problems by yourself, and that's where the negotiation comes in. You can make deals with other houses like, hey, I will give you 5 of these points that we get for, or that I get for solving the problem if you give me 3 of your resources to help me solve it. So there's a whole lot of that goes on. It was just really fun. It was a whole lot of fun. If you play with, your close friends and stuff, I think everybody would have a great time with it. I definitely recommend people checking it out, whether or not you have any prior knowledge of this Mistborn comic series. What was really cool about this game is that Kevin Wilson actually unwrapped the shrink of the game, and it was the first time that he had seen the finished copy of the game, the finished production copy, and that was just really neat to me. So definitely check this out. I guess the last thing that I really want to talk about, I missed a few games. There was one that the guy who was running it didn't show up. And then I had a couple games run long to where I wasn't able to get to my scheduled event in time. But I want to talk about Colossal Games. This company is great. Everyone involved with this company, Travis, Kira, AJ, Mark, these guys are amazing. When I would have a little bit of downtime, I would just go over to their table and just sit down and talk and hang out. I really enjoyed meeting these people. I really enjoyed sitting down and playing a couple demos with them. So I played a Kami-sama demo, and I know that this is there's gonna be some changes in the wording and stuff when the game comes out, so I hope I don't screw it up too much. But there's a spinning board with 4 different sections, or 4 different villages, I believe, where you have to place, and inside of each village there's, or inside of each city, what have you, there's buildings, there's forests, and there's plains. Now, these will do different things for you, and the buildings will not give you immediate points, but they will give you long-term points. The forests and the plains will give you immediate points. Now, what's cool is that you can only play on the city that's directly in front of you, while your opponents are playing directly in front of them. Now, you might have your character that you're playing, might have some sort of special ability that allows you to manipulate the other cities that your opponents are playing on. So that's really neat. It's not completely solitaire in that way. But also, you have to sort of balance where you're placing your characters, or where you're placing your, I'm forgetting the name of them, but your little structures. Because you're going to gain points for the forest and the plains when you play them out, when you play these guys out, and you're only going to score your lowest on that track. So if you're only going for the forest, you're only going to score your plains score, which is going to be super low if you don't focus on that. So I thought that was really neat how you have to balance that. It was also really cool to sort of mess with the other people, because they would play their, little structures out on the board, and then at the end of the round it would spin, and then you'd be playing on that one. So you could pull theirs off, put yours on, and there was a whole lot of like, oh no, like I can't believe you did that. And it was really neat. It was really fun demoing this game with some of the people that had been working on it. So, I had a great time with that. Now, I didn't get to fully demo their other game that they had there, but Western Legends. This game looks great. This is another game that, involves a lot of poker, obviously, because, it's a Western themed game. But it's this open world sandbox style where you're moving around and players can become wanted for whatever crimes they commit. And then the sheriff will be after them. And the opponents can send the sheriff after the wanted player. But if the wanted player can manage to stay away from the sheriff and not be arrested, he's going to be gaining these points throughout the game. So like, it's actually sort of good to be wanted if you can stay away from the sheriff. But if you can't, it's terrible. You're going to lose all your cattle, all your money, all your weapons. So it was really neat to sort of, like, I was seeing some people play and hearing some people discuss it and talk about what they thought. I'm definitely on the lookout for this game, and I'm definitely all in with Colossal. These guys are awesome. These are great people. It was great to sit down with Travis and Mark and AJ and Kira and just talk and, shoot the shit. I had a whole lot of fun at that table, even when I wasn't playing a game. So, that's going to be my recap. That's going to be my little overview for GrandCon. Oh, let me talk about the vendors a little bit. So Renegade had a booth there. Indie Board Games had a booth there. Broken Token, a bunch of different like local game shops and stuff. I was able to pick up Flip Ships, Sentient, Ex Libris. I actually went all in on Aeon's End. I have every last bit of content for that game right now, I believe. So I'm super excited to get that to the table. I'm actually going to pull it out once I finish uploading this video. But, the vendors were really great. They had a whole lot. They had a bunch of paint and take. I highly recommend this con. There was a ton of great people. The Dice Tower was there. Man vs. Meeple was there. It was awesome. It was awesome. So if you're in the general area, if you're in the Midwest, you should absolutely be checking out GrandCon if you're not already. I highly recommend it. If you guys are going to go, let me know. I will absolutely be going every year from now on. This is going to be a staple for me. So yeah, that's my overview. That's my recap. If you want to know more information about some of these games, just drop some comments. As always, subscribe to the channel, like me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever. Yeah, just let me know what you guys think of these games. If you agree, disagree, just let me know. So, thanks for watching, guys.